There's a lot about Assassin's Creed that I genuinely like. The leap of faith will never not be cool, even the concept of stalking a target and assassinating them. That's the DNA of this franchise. But today isn't about the cool moments, it's about the annoying ones. And when I say annoying, I'm not talking about the worst thing in each game. I mean the one thing that gets under your skin while you're actually playing. This could be a mechanic that slows the game down, an NPC that you just hate, or perhaps a design choice that makes you just visibly annoyed. Every Assassin's Creed game has one. So that's the plan. I'm gonna go through every mainline Assassin's Creed game and pick the single most annoying thing in each one. And if we're doing this properly, we've got to start at the beginning. Assassin's Creed 1. Now, considering this game is the first game in the franchise, it also does make sense for it to be a bit more rough around the edges in terms of design choices. And for the most annoying thing in this game, I've gone with the beggars that you can encounter. I'm convinced that these beggars were sent by the Templars in this game, specifically to test your sanity, because they are easily the most annoying thing in the entire game. First off, these beggars do not feel like real NPCs. They feel like pieces of written code that's entire existence is to magnet directly to Altair. You'll be walking towards the next investigation target, and then you hear it, the constant begging. And look, I get it. The atmosphere of Assassin's Creed 1 is supposed to be a kind of oppressive and realistic type of feeling. But these NPCs take persistence to a whole new level. The biggest issue isn't even the constant begging itself, it's how they actively sabotage your gameplay. In Assassin's Creed 1, social stealth is everything, right? But the beggars do not care about that at all. They will literally walk directly into your path, physically blocking you and forcing Altair to stumble or push them aside. The second you make physical contact, you risk drawing attention to yourself, and suddenly those guards that you were trying to avoid are looking right at you. And I mean, God forbid you try to escape them by climbing, right? You would think scaling a wall would give you some peace. Wrong. If you're within range, these beggars will actually start pelting you with rocks. I'm not joking, you are a highly trained assassin and you are getting knocked off a building because a lady in a shawl randomly has the arm of a bloody NFL quarterback. If anything, it's kind of disrespectful to Altair. So yeah, the beggars are easily the most annoying thing in this game by far. Moving on to Assassin's Creed 2, and although this is my favourite game in the franchise, I'm not blind to the fact that there are flaws. It improved on almost everything from the original, but even a game as great as Assassin's Creed 2 has its annoying moments. For this game, I've gone with something that isn't a specific NPC or a clunky mechanic, it's an entire chunk of the story. I'm talking about Sequence 13, Bonfire of Vanities. Now, I was going to go with the forced collecting of every codex page to progress the main story, because we know that that was also very annoying. However, it was between this or that. Now, if you played the original Assassin's Creed 2 back in 2009, you might remember the game just skipping from Sequence 11 to Sequence 14. But in Assassin's Creed, the Ezio collection, which is what most people play now when they start up Assassin's Creed 2 in today's day and age, you are literally forced to endure this absolute slog. The pacing of the game is building up to this cool finale in Rome with the Pope. And then suddenly, nope, you're dropped into a cordoned off section of Florence, and you're told you have to assassinate 9 different lieutenants of the monks Savonarola. This is the Ubisoft checklist before checklists were even a thing. What we see now in recent games with grindy and checklists, everything is inspired by this. This is what started it all. Most of these targets aren't even interesting, they're just glorified errand tasks that recycle the same gameplay loops you've been doing for the past 10 to 15 hours. It completely kills the narrative momentum. You wanna go punch the Pope for God's sake, but you can't because of Sequence 13. The absolute worst offender in this sequence, and arguably the most frustrating thing in this entire game, is the mission to kill the merchant. He's stationed on a large boat in the middle of the harbour, surrounded by guards who are facing every possible direction. This mission is the definition of controller snapping. What makes it truly annoying is the forced stealth in several of these missions. After the freedom the rest of the game gives you, being shoved into these restrictive, repetitive missions right before the finish feels like a punishment. It's the definition of bloat, and you know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people almost quit the game because of this. Now we get to Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. We're in Rome now. Ezio is a master assassin. and we have an entire army of recruits at our beck and call. You think with all of this power nobody would dare mess with you, but you'd be wrong, because Rome is infested with the most persistent, tone-deaf and downright suicidal NPCs in gaming, and that NPC is the Bard. When you're walking through the streets as Ezio and you hear an instrument strumming behind you, you will already know what's going on. Now, personally, in my opinion, I don't think they are as annoying as the beggars in Assassin's Creed 1, as the beggars in AC1 genuinely seem magnetized to Altair, but it's still the same annoying concept. It's funny because out of every citizen there is on the streets, there is no way they just randomly decide to run directly at Ezio every single time. Maybe it's the drip, right? They see a flashy white outfit and assume Ezio's wealthy. They push through everyone else in the street just to sing directly to your face, and they don't stop. They'll follow you down the street, around the corners, to the crowds. At least in Assassin's Creed 2 you could kind of tolerate it. Here they feel even more aggressive. Renovating Rome gets rid of some beggars. The bards though, they are eternal. You can rebuild the entire city and they're still there, chasing you with the loot. Obviously you can just toss a coin and they disappear, but you gotta ask yourself a question. Why would you financially try to support these annoying ass NPCs? Moving on, we have Assassin's Creed Revelations. Now, you see, Revelations bomb crafting is one of those things where you can feel Ubisoft have a genuinely cool idea, and then somehow still make it annoying. Because on paper, I do think the bomb crafting system is very cool. You've got Piri Reis, the real Ottoman Turkish cartographer in the corner, acting as a chemist. And the game tells you that you can essentially build your own bombs. This can of course be, different casings, different powders, different effects. There's lethal, there's tactical, diversion, you get the gist. You can make stuff that kills, stuff that scares guards, and stuff that distracts. It sounds like a super cool idea, but then you actually play the game and the whole system collapses into like 3 bombs. And that's where it's annoying for me. You just use either shrapnel for killing, smoke for basically everything else, and then a cherry bomb if you're feeling adventurous. And it's not because, we're boring types of players, it's because the game gives you zero reason to experiment. Most missions don't really create scenarios where a weird niche bomb matters, and even when they try, it's often in scripted tutorial moments that never show up again. So you end up crafting over 100 combinations and using like, 6, 7? And the biggest issue is you don't know what you're walking into. The mission brief tells you nothing. So why would I bring a certain bomb type when I don't know if I'm about to tail somebody, fight about 10 guards, or stealth into a restricted zone? Now how you fix it is simple. I saw somebody on Reddit give a solution, and the solution was, before you start a mission, give actual intel. Then the crafting finally becomes the fun part instead of a menu you ignore until the game forces you to use it. And for that reason, I find the bomb crafting system to be very tedious and annoying. Now we get to Assassin's Creed 3, and I need you to understand something. I like this game, but 100%ing this game is one of the most frustrating and annoying experiences I've ever attempted to go for in this series. I rarely go for 100% in video games because I think it's a waste of time. Unless it's your job or the game is genuinely that amazing. For example, I 100%ed Cyberpunk because I think that game is just peak from start to finish. But Assassin's Creed 3's 100% is insanely annoying, and here's the funny part. It wasn't the collectibles that were annoying, no. I don't mind running around grabbing feathers and trinkets and almanac pages. That's time consuming stuff, sure, but it's not annoying. The homestead missions were cool, the underground tunnels were whatever, even most of the club challenges just kind of happened naturally. The real villain of Assassin's Creed 3's 100% is full synchronization. Those optional objectives are not optional. If you want 100% the game, you are playing exactly how the developers tell you to play. There is no creativity at all. Just do this weird specific thing in this exact order or restart the entire mission. Take the mission named The Giant and the Storm. The optional objective, I believe, was destroy 3 ships by aiming at their powder stores. Cool, except if you upgraded your RAM early, you accidentally sink them before the weak point even shows up. So now you're replaying a 20-minute mission because your boat was too strong. Oh, and don't even get me started on chasing Charles Lee. The part where you have to not bump into anybody while he runs at insane speed, mind you he's a pretty old man, is crazy. Then there's the board games, gambling in taverns, Fanorana, bowls, games nobody has to master. By the end of it, I wasn't even having fun. Assassin's Creed 3 is not a bad game, but trying to perfect it turns into a completely different beast, and it's annoying as hell. Now we get to Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and this one might be controversial because I actually like the modern day in this franchise. I always have. It's the most important part of the entire series for me. If you watch me, you'd know I love the modern day. So you may be thinking, well, why is it here in the video as the most annoying thing? Well, context. When this game released back in 2013, I didn't even mind the Abstergo office stuff. Walking around that corporate building and hacking computers, uncovering little secrets about Abstergo Entertainment was super cool at that time. Key phrase is at that time. And after Assassin's Creed 3 ended the way it did, I was curious where they were going to go with Juno and the whole Sage storyline. But now it's 2026, we know what happens with Juno. And looking back at Black Flag, this entire modern day section feels pointless and annoying to get through. You're ripped out of being Edward Kenway, just to walk around in first person as a silent employee with an iPad. Your protagonist has no personality, no voice lines at all, in fact his name is Noob, and every time the Animus forces you out it kills the momentum. Again, context. We know what happens with Juno, so Black Flag's modern day is null and void. I still think the modern day belongs in Assassin's Creed, but the way it was handled in Black Flag was that rare moment where now, in 2026, I almost wish they had just committed fully to the pirate story and left the rest out. Moving on from Black Flag, we now have Assassin's Creed Rogue, and while the game is similar in terms of gameplay to Black Flag, the one annoying thing I've chosen might be something people don't find annoying, and to me that's the stalkers. You know exactly what I mean. You're just minding your business in, I believe, New York or the River Valley? Maybe you're just free running because Rogue actually feels nice to move around in. And then it starts, that whispering, and I'm not gonna lie, the first few times it happens it's quite cool. It's creepy. It makes sense for the story too. I mean, Shay defected, right? And the assassins want him gone. So now you're the one being hunted. That role reversal is one of Rogue's best ideas in my opinion. The whispers start whispering and then the screen gets that little effect around the edges. It creates this paranoia where you start scanning rooftops and haystacks. But then you realize it's the 15th goddamn time, and now it's not scary anymore, it's just annoying, because it always happens when you're trying to do something else. I just feel like it turns into this constant mini game of, finding this random stalker who doesn't even matter at all. And I feel like the worst part is they're not even that threatening after a while. You either get tagged once and it does barely anything, or you counter kill them and keep moving on. So what's the point? I feel like if they were more rare, or if they felt like actual hunters that showed up at important moments, this mechanic could have been way better. Instead, it's spammed so hard that it loses all impact. Rogue is a game that has a lot of cool ideas, but the stalkers are a case of being annoying after a certain point. Next up, we have the first engine upgraded game, and that is Assassin's Creed Unity. And for this game, the most annoying thing is easily the UI clutter and the map bloat. Because Unity is actually one of those games where you're actually in motion, it can feel quite nice to play. I mean, Paris is amazing. The parkour can be smooth when it works well, which isn't often, but then you open the map and it's like Ubisoft just took a fat shit all over the screen. I kid you not, Unity's map is genuinely one of the most cluttered maps I've ever seen in a video game. And that's crazy because it's not even a big world. It's not just that there's a lot to do, I'm fine with side content. The issue is the way it's presented. Every single district is covered in icons. This of course consists of chests, cockades, co-op missions, Paris stories, murder mysteries, Nostradamus riddles, viewpoints, shops, renovation stuff. It never ends. You zoom out and the map basically turns into whatever this is. Oh, and by the way, it's not just a map either. The whole user interface in Unity has this always shouting at you problem. For example, let's say you're playing a murder mystery, right, and you pick up a clue. The game tosses a pop-up in your face like database updated, skill points unassigned, enemies remember you after conflict. Like, yes, we know this. I'm literally trying to read the clue I got. Why are you putting an ad over the thing I just picked up? It's like the game is desperate to remind you that menus exist. Now, yes, you can filter icons and switch the HUD settings, but that almost makes it worse because it's basically Ubisoft admitting the default experience is a mess. Why is the solution to your UI being cluttered just go into the settings and change it? Thankfully, Ubisoft does not really have this problem anymore. I mean, Shadow's UI is quite clean, and so are the recent other games from what I've seen. Now this one is a personal preference, and it may not be a big deal to most of you, but to me it's just annoying, and that's the hood situation where you cannot wear it in cutscenes or regular gameplay. Now, look, I get it. Victorian London is a setting where there are top hats everywhere. I mean, Jacob and Evie are supposed to blend in, and I get that. I've always said that Jacob's signature outfit is the best in terms of blending in, because it matches the time period perfectly. I'm not saying they need to walk around the street like it's Assassin's Creed 1 or AC2 with the hood up 24/7, but Syndicate does this annoying thing where the hood is basically allergic to cutscenes and normal movement. You will be in the middle of a literal mission being stealthy about to assassinate some people, and then let's say a cutscene happens, and boom, your hood is off. It's almost like Ubisoft Quebec, which, by the way, Quebec again, am I right? It feels like they're embarrassed of the hood. I mean, they did it with Shadows too. What makes it worse is that you can't even toggle it yourself. If you want the hood up, you have to either be crouched in stealth, so if you want to walk normally with the hood up, too bad, you either crouch walk or you accept the hat. And this bothered people so much that there was literally a petition with over 2,000 signatures asking Ubisoft to add a hood and hat toggle without forcing stealth. That's how you know it's not just me being picky. On PC you can download mods to fix it, which is what I did, but that's the problem. I shouldn't need mods just to keep the most iconic assassin look in the franchise. It's a tiny detail, but for me it's just very annoying. Weirdly enough, I couldn't really find many annoying things in Origins, but of course there still is, and I had to dig to find something. And with that said, I've gone with the horse archers to be the most annoying thing in the game. I mean, you can't really argue against that, right? Regular archers are already an enemy type I hate in games in general, but once they're on a horse, it feels like Ubisoft gave them actual aimbot. Now overall, I actually like the combat change in Origins. It's more hitbox based and it feels different from the older game's counter kill system. But horse archers are where that system starts to feel frustrating instead of challenging. On higher difficulties especially, they are unbelievably accurate. They rarely miss, they fire quickly, and the reaction window to block can feel tiny. Sometimes you don't even register where the shot came from before another arrow is already on the way. And because they're mounted on literal horses, they're constantly repositioning. The most annoying thing is that you are literally fighting an archer that can circle you, not to mention the aimbot that they have. What makes it worse is that almost every enemy in Origins has access to a bow, so you can't just prioritize that one archer in a group. In many encounters, half the enemies can suddenly switch to range attacks. In open world scenarios, especially with patrols and convoys, you end up getting shot from multiple angles whilst trying to close a gap on a single mounted enemy. The design clearly pushes you towards using your own bow more often, and that works mechanically, but if you prefer grounded melee combat, horse archers will constantly ruin that. Now, it's not that they're unbeatable, it's that they're annoying as hell. Moving on from Origins, we now have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and the most annoying thing in this game is how constant the mercenaries are. Now do note, I like mercenaries, but not the constant barrage of them. The concept that you cause trouble and a mercenary is sent after you is cool. The first time a mercenary shows up while you're clearing a fort, it feels like the game is reacting to you, and you realize that there are consequences to your actions. But Assassin's Creed Odyssey seems to push that way too far, way too often. The problem is the timing. Mercenaries never seem to show up when you're calmly riding through the world doing nothing. They show up when you're in the middle of taking down a captain at a fort. Or I remember at one time I was fighting one of those legendary animals, I think it was the boar. And then the game decides to plant a mercenary into the bloody situation. And it doesn't feel organic either. A lot of the time it feels like they know exactly where you are. You could be in the most inconvenient spot possible on the map, and they still appear as if you have a literal GPS tracker on you. To me, it just turns certain fights into a brawl for the wrong reasons. Not because the enemy is well designed, not at all. I mean, these mercenaries are remodeled regular enemies with armor, but it's because you're fighting a fight that you did not agree to. After enough hours, the mercenary system stops being this interesting pressure mechanic and becomes a complete pain in the ass. You either pay off the bounty constantly, which is what I end up doing, or you make it part of your routine to kill them every single time, just so the game will let you do the quest you actually came here to do. Oh boy, this is a different one. For Valhalla, the most annoying thing isn't a gameplay feature or an enemy type. Well, it's kind of an enemy type, but it's a story-related character that I cannot stand, and that's goddamn Dag. In fact, he's so hated that there's a subreddit dedicated to hating Dag named Fuck Dag. Now, here's the thing, right? Conflict in a settlement is a good idea. Not everybody should agree with Eivor. When Sigurd leaves you in charge, it makes sense that somebody might question that. I think that's interesting and creates a bit of tension. But You see, Dag doesn't feel like tension. He feels like a broken goddamn record. From the literal moment that you arrive in England, Evo is the one doing everything, and I mean everything. You're building Ravensthorpe from the grounds up, you're the one forging alliances across half the country, you're solving disputes, you're basically carrying the clan on your back while Sigurd is off chasing visions, and every single time you return home, there's Dag questioning you, undermining you, acting like you're power hungry for doing the job Sigurd told you to do. Now, it's not that Dag disagrees with you, it's that he refuses to listen. You can try to explain, I mean the game does give you dialogue options to be calm about it, but you see, Dag doesn't care. He's already decided that you're the villain in his head. What makes it worse is that the game stretches this out for hours. This is not a short rivalry, because every arc that you complete, you know that there's going to be another scene where Dag tosses the same accusations at you. By the time the home gang finally happens, I think it's a moment that simply felt overdue, and that's the goddamn problem. Dag could have been a compelling character. Instead, I found him to be the most annoying character in this franchise by far. Now moving on, we have Assassin's Creed Mirage, and this game is essentially a mini Valhalla in a way, but more classic gameplay focused. However, the one annoying thing is something that was carried over from Valhalla that I cannot stand, and that is barred doors. You know, the ones that say door is barred from the other side. So now the game turns into this routine where you circle the building looking for the right opening, scanning every window, every roof gap, every crack in the wall, then you finally find the tiny opening. You toss a knife through it and hit the bar, and the door swings open. Now, like many things in this franchise, the first few times are fine. It makes you look at the area differently, and Mirage is a smaller game so it doesn't overstay its welcome as much as Valhalla did. But you see, after a while it feels like a goddamn chore, especially when it's in an empty building. I mean, think about it logically, right? If there are no guards inside the building or outside the building, or if there are no civilians in the building, or no reason the door should be barred in the first place, then who the fuck locked it and then teleported out? It logically makes no sense at all. And the worst part is the reward is often nothing special. You do the whole little scavenger hunt just to grab a crafting material or a basic chest that you'll forget about 5 minutes later. If Ubisoft wants to keep this mechanic, it needs variety. Give me lockpicking. I can't remember the last time we had lockpicking in an Assassin's Creed game. Give me something that feels like stealth, not housebreaking annoyances. And last but not least, we have Assassin's Creed Shadows, and by far the most annoying thing about this game is something to do with the open world, and that is the constant sliding down a hill or a little slope of land. Now, Shadows is meant to be an open world game, right? So if we physically cannot go to a certain place because the game slides you down a little slope of hill constantly, then it's a restricted open world to force you on a certain path, and that is bad world design. What makes it worse is how random it feels. I'm not even talking about some insane mountain face where, yes, fair enough, you shouldn't be able to spider climb it. I'm talking about those slopes that look totally normal, like a small hill you'd run up in any other Assassin's Creed game, or any other open world game in general. It just kills momentum entirely. You're trying to explore and instead you're forced into this slow loop of sliding down, walking back up, sliding down again, then finally giving up and taking the long road. And I feel like that's what the developers intended. Now, yes, I get the argument people make that Japan is steep and you should use the paths. Cool, but then don't give us a fog of war map that basically begs you to explore every corner. You simply cannot design the game to reward wandering, then punish wandering with constant forced sliding. If they want terrain to matter, fine. Just make it consistent and let the shinobi actually climb like a shinobi. And there we have it. Those are the most annoying things in every Assassin's Creed game. Let me know down below what other things you find annoying from any Assassin's Creed that I haven't mentioned in this video, because I know that there are plenty more. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next one.